Welcome back to the Guild Tremor video strategy guides. I'm Danton, one of our main tanks, and today I'll be explaining the Icecrown Gunship battle within the Icecrown Citadel. This encounter is flat out fun. I can't begin to stress how much fun you'll have. That is, as long as you get to be on the away team, so to speak. The whole objective of this encounter is to deal more siege damage to the enemy gunship than it does to yours. Siege damage is done by firing the 2 side guns on your ship. And that's it. No tricks or interesting tidbits. I hope you enjoyed our video. Oh, you want more. Alright. Well, if you haven't noticed by now, with my camera going wild looking at everything I could, I didn't know what I was getting myself into for this fight. This was our first time doing this encounter, and we'd only briefly glanced over the strategy. What we did wasn't perfect, but it worked. Fear not, though, I'll be explaining the correct way to do this encounter. The first thing everyone should do when they get onto the gunship is talk to the goblin near Muradin to get a jetpack. Equipping this takes the place of your shirt and should be dragged onto one of your action bars for easy access. Test it out a little bit before starting, just to get a feel for it. At this point, you should split your raid into 2 groups. One is a boarding party, which should consist of melee DPS, a tank, and a healer, and one is a defense party, which should consist of a ranged DPS, a tank, and a healer. The defense party will have 2 main tasks during this encounter. The first, defense against NPCs. Mobs will teleport or spawn randomly on your ship, which the tank will need to pick up while DPS kills them. The second, using the cannons. The 2 cannons on the side of the ship will need to be used constantly to bring down the enemy gunship. They have 2 abilities, Cannon Blast, which does siege damage and generates 6 to 10 heat, and Incinerating Blast, which consumes all of the cannon's heat to launch a massive ball of fire, dealing 1000 siege damage plus additional damage per point of heat. It is generally suggested to fire a ton of Cannon Blasts followed by an Incinerating Blast at around 80 to 90 heat. Be warned though that if you generate a full 100 heat, the cannon will lock up for a good 5 seconds. Both types of Cannon Blasts can deal damage to enemy NPCs too. The boarding party has the hard part here, or what would be considered to be the harder of the 2 parts. What happens here is this. A mage on the opposite side's gunship will occasionally cast a spell called Below Zero, which freezes the cannons on your ship, preventing them from being used. When this happens, the boarding party needs to jetpack over to the ship and kill the mage channeling this spell. The mage usually stands in the middle of the ship. During this, the NPC in control of the enemy ship, High Overlord Sorfang in our case, will attempt to attack the boarding party. The tank should pick him up and tank him until the boarding party completes their objective, which is to kill the mage first and kill any other NPCs second. The only problem with this is that he'll gain a stacking buff called Battle Fury, which increases all damage done by 10% per stack. The goal for the tank here is to watch out for when he hits 15 stacks, and then call a retreat back to your gunship. A better geared tank can hold out for as many as 20 stacks, but it's not advised. Once your boarding party retreats, they should wait for the stacks to fall off of the enemy NPC leader, and then repeat the same tactic over again. There is one big and terribly important item to note though. The longer that you leave enemy NPCs alive and attacking you, the more experience they gain. I say experience in a sense that they deal increasing amounts of damage over time. At this point, if you've been paying attention to the actual video portion, you'll notice that there are only 3 people with jetpacks. Myself, Aslan, and Acroanid. We goofed up a bit at the beginning, not realizing that we needed jetpacks until just before the encounter started, so we improvised with what we had. Acro died right off the bat, and if I'm not mistaken, released and was unable to zone back in while the encounter was in progress. This left myself and Aslan as the only 2 players with jetpacks. I ended up tanking the NPC leader near the edge to allow one of our healers to heal me, which then in turn allowed Aslan to jump across and burn down the mage and possibly other NPCs. The only downside is that it took a good 8 minutes to complete this encounter and left our defense team almost bored enough to jump off the side of the gunship. Which reminds me, if you jump off, you'll magically be ported back to the center of your gunship. Try it sometime, I did. I'm actually going to cut the 8-minute long video short a bit for all of our sakes, but trust me when I say the encounter lasted the full 8 minutes. As always, thanks for watching our videos. If you have any questions, I encourage you to post them in the YouTube comment section below, or feel free to visit our website forums at www.fieldoftremor.com.